The recording is ready and it is time.
Great. Thank you so much, Tricia. I'd like to welcome all of the members of the public and my fellow board members to this evening's Board of Education meeting on Wednesday, July 21st, 2021. I'd also like to welcome our Superintendent, Ted Knight, to this evening's meeting. It's good to have you here. I would like to call this meeting to order and establish a quorum.
Board President Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Clerk Tess Arthur,
Yes.
Board Member Anne Marie Rosen,
Yes.
Board Member Seabury Nakbar,
Yes.
and for the record, Carl Palestrini will be joining us later this evening.
May I please get a motion to adopt the agenda?
I move to adopt the agenda.
Second?
Board President Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Clerk Tess Arthur,
Yes.
Board Member Anne Marie Rosen,
Yes.
Board Member Seabury Nakbar.
Yes.
Thank you. And Anne Marie, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
All right, hands on your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. So as we move to closed session, the board will identify the closed session items and accept public comment on these agenda items only. Again, public comment will only be accepted on these closed session agenda items. Closed session agenda item A, conference legal counsel regarding potential settlement of special education claims against the district. There is one potential settlement based on the facts currently known to the potential plaintiff, case number S as in Sam, E 1201-22. Session E is public employee discipline dismissal release complaints pursuant to Government Code 54957, subdivision B1. So with that, I will go ahead and open it up for public comment again on closed session agenda items A and B.
I am seeing no hands raised for public comment.
Okay,
Maybe
great, thank you.
Wondering if we wanted to just give one more minute to let the people know that if they'd like to use the raise hand function in Zoom to let us know if they have a comment at this point. Otherwise, we can close the comment section. Yes, still no hands raised.
Okay, thank you so much, Paul. So with that, we will adjourn to closed session and we will see you all back here in an hour. Thank you.
5:30. It looks like all are here, but I do not see Carl.
Would you like me to go ahead and get started or give him a few minutes?
We can get started if you have a quorum. So if you'd like to go ahead and get back, we can record when he gets, that he's joined us.
Okay, just in the best interest of everybody's time, I'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome my fellow board members and members of the community back to our Carmel Unified School District Board of Education School Board meeting on July 21st, 2021. I would also, again, like to welcome Mr. Ted Knight to this evening's meeting. This is his first board meeting, so welcome, Ted. As we emerged from closed session, I would like to go ahead and report the actions that we have taken in regards to closed session. Item 2A, conference with legal counsel regarding potential settlement of special education claims against the district. Case number S as in Sam, E1 2021-2022. In closed session, the governing board approved an agreement to resolve anticipated litigation in a special education matter, case number SE 12021-22, through funding of specialized services not to exceed $50,000 through the 2021-2022 school year. The board's vote on this matter was unanimous. In regards to closed session item 2B, public employee discipline dismissal release complaints pursuant to Government Code 54957, report out on item number 1, the board took action in closed session on June 23rd to unanimously approve a settlement agreement regarding the resignation of one certificated teacher. The statutory revocation period has passed and the resignation and agreement are final. The board's vote was unanimous. Report out on item number 2, in closed session, the governing board provided direction and parameters in regards to item 2B on the closed session agenda. And that will conclude our readout for closed.
And I just want to note that Carl Palestrini was not present for closed session voting, so it was unanimous of 4-0.
Thank you. All right, so we will start the meeting here. I'd like to let our audience know that this evening's open session meeting will be recorded. So for those of you that want to access it later, you can. And we'll move on to agenda item 3C this evening. This is public comment on non-agendized items and reports. So anyone wishing to address the board on items within the board's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda or regarding reports under item 3D may do so at this time. Community members wishing to address the board are allocated 3 minutes per speaker. Please note that speaking times cannot be delegated to another person. The board may elect to allocate 2 minutes per speaker if we need to without taking action. Board members and district staff members may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed by the public about items not appearing on the agenda. And since I feel like it's been a while since we've had a meeting, I would like to make a friendly reminder to everybody that the Board of Education is committed, continues to be committed to maintaining a respectful and productive environment that is fostering a culture of civility where our staff, our community, and our board feel safe to express themselves. And the board will welcome your comments and requests, and we please ask that you express yourself accordingly. We thank you for taking the time to join this meeting and to participate in public comment. So with that, I will go ahead and open it up to public comment on non-agendized items and reports.
That's the time to raise your hand if you have a public comment on non-agendized items and reports. I will take pause. Just a friendly reminder to everyone. Once we've called for public comments, we don't come back and call for public comments again. So if you have a public comment, now is your time on non-agenda items. Last call for public comment on non-agenda items or board reports. I see 2 hands raised. Heather Clifton and Tracy Henderson. Heather, please unmute yourself and make your comment.
Yes, hi. Thank you for taking my comment. My name is Heather Clifton. I live in Carmel Valley. I've been here about 2 years now, so this is my first meeting. So my apologies. I'm kind of new to the process, but I did have a chance to look over the agenda, and I know you guys have a very, very busy docket, and there's a lot to talk about. I appreciate you taking the time, but my understanding is that there was a request to also discuss the issue of masking and that being parents' choice within the school district. And I'm given to understand that the superintendent has decided to make that decision unilaterally and not have it be open for discussion. So I am curious if that's something that's very common, if often the superintendent does make those kind of medical decisions without consulting parents, or if this is something that's new. So that's really my only question. I'll go ahead and yield the floor.
So just, you stated you were new. I should just make sure we say we take public comments. We don't take questions or anything at this time, but that doesn't mean someone won't reach out to you or address any question that you may have. Next, Tracy Henderson, please unmute yourself and make your comment.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to you folks again. I've corresponded with each member of the board, so you folks know who I am, but for the public record, my name is Tracy Henderson. I'm a parent of an ingoing sophomore in high school at Carmel High. I'm also the founder of California Parents United, and I echo Ms. Clifton's concerns. Mr. Knight is a very kind person. I really like him. But the request that was placed upon the board was at the directive of the board members. I asked to have an item agendized. In particular, CDPH has changed their guidelines. Their original guidelines were if a student shows up on campus without a mask, you're to refuse them attendance at school. And that violates the education code because there's no factual basis, which is required to be a clear and present danger. And the education code contemplates that to be violence and drugs. So in 5 hours, they flipped their guidance and they delegated the enforcement prong of the mask guidelines to the schools, which gives each school district the opening under California law to determine what is best in their community. So that means a school board can develop a protocol or a policy that works for their particular community. And my concern is, while Mr. Knight is new to the community, 3 weeks, he made a unilateral decision without consulting the board or even consulting the community as to whether or not the parents want mask choice, because within the CDPH guidelines, that's an option. Alpine, Corona Norco, Newhall, Placer are all looking at non-enforcement policies, which would essentially allow the parents to choose. And I submit for your consideration, if you read the letter I sent you carefully, and I would ask that that be part of the public record, you are actually more legally within your rights to make a policy that works for your community, because the California Constitution has given the legislature the power to delegate broad discretion on how to create and what kind of policies to create for school boards. It's not an unelected board like CDPH. Now I'm acknowledging that CDPH is who everybody follows, but CDPH has said all you have to do is develop a protocol. So I would respectfully ask that this item be put on the next board meeting's agenda for the board, which is the proper authority to discuss such a policy. And again, you can develop your own protocols, your own policies as you see fit for the community. And to aid Mr. Knight and to aid the board, there are surveys going around the state of California, and there are surveys going around locally, and we hope to provide that information to the parents. But again, the basic ask is parents, it's time for parents to be able to choose what's best for their children, not the government. And again, I respectfully thank you very much for the opportunity to address the board.
Thank you. That was the last speaker.
Great, thank you so much. And thank you to the folks that raised their hand this evening for public comment. We'll move on to consent calendar. Oh, I'm sorry. We'll move on to agenda item 3D. This is the Board of Education superintendent, student representative, who I should make note will not be starting with us until August or September, but we will be very excited to welcome Hannah Philly to our board meetings moving forward. So we will welcome her in the next couple months. And then we'll have comments this evening from ACT and CSCA. These are routine statuses regarding campus activities, meeting schedules, conferences, any meetings attended, and recent developments. So we'll start this evening with any updates from the Board of Education. I'll go ahead and start with Seabury this evening.
Hi, everyone. I don't have a lot to report out because I'm in Minnesota, enjoying some time with family and doing a lot of swimming in Turtle Lake. But I would like to let everyone know that I had a great site visit last week at the Habitat at Me Earth. Ben was able to walk me around, and I so appreciate that gem of a place that our students get to utilize. I think they're doing a fantastic job of working with our district, but also of making this space available to our community and to others, including lots of students from Salinas and Watsonville. So I just wanted to just say thank you to Ben and Rachel, their new program coordinator there. I think they're doing a great job, and I think there's so much potential there, even more potential than we've already tapped into, to really utilize that space for outdoor learning. So it was a great site visit. And again, I so appreciate the opportunity for our students and my children to access that. And that's it.
Great. Thanks so much, Seabury, and safe travels. I'll move along to Carl.
I too have little to say. It's summer, and just hoping for the best out there, folks, with everything that's going on. And, hang in there. I think we're going to be fine with all of the issues that we're dealing with in terms of health. So just want to say that. And good hearing from you and the board.
Great. Thanks, Carl. Anne Marie?
Hello. I just wanted to say hi, and I wanted to say that I've been taking another class for my master's in governance on policy and judicial review. There were about 50 board members with me from throughout all of California. So it was interesting seeing all the different people that were new, and some of them were relatively new as of April. So it was exciting to get to know a whole bunch more people who were going through all different kinds of situations, which is interesting. I went out to Rancho Cielo, which is in East Salinas, for dinner one night, and went and saw their program that they have. It's Monterey County office's their alternative ed program, and it's opportunity, education as well. It goes through having a culinary program. They've got education programs during the school year. It's really interesting. I highly suggest anybody wants to go see it. It's Friday evenings. They've 5:30, 6:30. I think it's between 5:30 and 6:30 are their dinner times. It was really interesting, and it was a great meal. So thank you very much to Rancho Cielo. And I wanted to let everyone know that there's going to be another ROP CTE meeting that I'm going to be attending at the end of this month. And then I have uploaded the California dashboard onto my phone. So I've been taking a look at all the stats that have been uploaded there. So thank you very much. That's it.
Great. Thanks so much, Anne Marie. Tess?
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. I had the honor to go with Mr. Ted Knight out to Kashawa last week, and we really had a great visit. We went straight to the center and watched the kids arrive, got to greet them, meet some of their parents and families. And then we went out with them to Hastings Reserve and got to see Jen out there, who's a parent in the district. And it just was really, really special to see the joy on the kids' faces getting to be together again. And I think the highlight for me for sure was, giving Ted a little bit of an insight into that community, which he really seemed to, he has a similar passion that we do, which I love that about him. And seeing the high school kids that are volunteering their time and getting service hours just to help with the program is absolutely heartwarming. So I just want to give a shout out to Kaiten and Lee. You're absolutely killing it your first year. And I just want to thank them for all of their efforts to make it really special and meaningful, and hoping we will perfect and build on it in the future. So that's it for me. Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome. Before I turn it over to Ted for his first superintendent's update, I don't have much to report out on, other than I wanted to follow up on some housekeeping. I know that a few meetings back, I had spoken about when we will be transitioning to in-person meetings. So I just wanted to let my fellow board members and our community know that we are in the process of transitioning from Zoom to in-person. We're hoping in the next month or two, we will be seeing you all face to face. We're working out the logistics of that. So I just wanted everybody to know that, this topic has not been left by the wayside. We've been actively working on the timing and the location and everything needed to make that happen. So Ted and I have been discussing that, and hopefully we will be able to provide the community with more information on the exact timing of when we'll be meeting in person, and different parameters and information sooner than later. So that's all I have this evening. And with that, I will pass it off to you, Ted.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate the time to hopefully make a few brief comments here. First, I want to give a big thank you to the board, the staff, and the community for their warm welcome into the school district and the community. I've been able to meet with numerous staff, stakeholders, go on different tours, and everyone just continues to really make me feel like family. And I just want to give a big thank you to everyone. I echo what Tess said. I was able to go with Craig Chavez from HR and Trisha over to the Carmel Middle School summer school and hang out with the kids and the staff there for a little bit, and just saw some great things going on, as well as the visit out to Kashawa was wonderful. It was great to see kids excited about experiential learning. And I also want to thank Lee and Kaiten. They have, along with many other staff members, sacrificed their time this summer to give our students some much needed in-person connection. And I think also to give our families some relief and a place for their children to go. So big thank you to them. I'm also very proud of the great work that I'm seeing from support staff, leaders, and teachers as they're preparing for students. It's went into Target and there are school supplies. So we know kids are right around the corner, and there's just great work going on. Our support staff does a lot of cleaning, furniture assembly. We have teachers and support staff and principals putting classrooms back together. A lot of them left their rooms socially distanced. So knowing we're planning for a full return, there's just a lot of work going on from a lot of our staff members. So I want to thank them. As Sarah stated, I'm excited to resume in-person board meetings. I think we're going to be able to go to those in the near future. We are working through the logistics to continue to live stream those. And I am excited to welcome back our in-person public commenters so that we have a chance to really connect with those members of our community who are taking time out of their busy day to come share their thoughts with us. I will say the caveat, this is still COVID. That's assuming guidance stays the same. If cases pick up and state guidance changes, as a public entity, we follow that state guidance. So if for some reason we get back to in-person board meetings and that guidance changes, at least we're all veterans at the Zoom thing. So, but looking forward to that. I wanted to talk a few minutes just about our start to school. We were able to send out a message to our community, and just to recap the three main points that we had in our letter. We are planning a return to full in-person learning. We will be following the California Department of Public Health guidance on indoor masking, outdoors being optional. And for those families where in-person learning is still dangerous for health reasons, we have partnered with the North Monterey County Unified School District to offer an independent study program through their program. So excited for that. We will be doing a town hall next Tuesday with North Monterey County. That's Tuesday, the 27th at 5:30, where our staff and staff from North Monterey County will be discussing kind of a town hall Q&A. We'll be discussing with any parent who might be interested in that option. And then we are also planning, and I'll get dates out as soon as I can, a community/staff town hall prior to the start of school, just to go over the various protocols for the upcoming school year. We know there's still a lot of questions out there on anything from field trips to parent volunteers. So we're going to do just a town hall, an informative session on some of those protocols as we continue to get further guidance from CDPH. I do think, and I know masks have been an issue for some folks and definitely have been a topic of discussion. I appreciate Heather and Tracy's comments tonight and taking their time. I have shared, I do believe teachers will be creative. I think students will have opportunities to be outside. I don't believe students are going to be wearing masks 7 hours a day. I think that there will be various opportunities for students to get outdoors. We have lovely weather here, especially through November 1st, when CDPH has said they'll continue to look at that guidance again. And so I want to reassure our parents that I don't think this is going to be as it might have been last year, where students might be indoors with masks on all day long. But I do want to talk a little bit. I don't want to get in the habit of responding to public comments, but I want to talk a little bit more about masks. My goal is to, first and foremost, is to always do what's best for students. And that means keeping students in class, in person, all year long. In my experience, the most detrimental thing that happens to students is when they yo-yo in and out of school. We bring them in and then they're quarantined, and we bring them in and then a grade level shut down. And our health experts are telling us the best way to ensure that is to mask students. Even the quarantine rules differ. If a student is a close contact to a student who is tested positive for COVID, as we know, traditionally, they've had to isolate and miss school. Current guidance is if they're masked, they can stay in school. They can continue their learning in school as long as they don't have symptoms and get tested. So to me, the best way to ensure that all kids stay in school all year long is to follow that health guidance and mask up. But I also want to talk a little bit about the policy discussion. I 100% agree with Tracy in that the school board is responsible for passing policy on a number of issues. But I think there's a little bit of a misinterpretation in that the guidance from CDPH says that schools must develop protocols. It does not say that they have to develop policies. They have to develop protocols to enforce the mask requirement. It has been my suggestion, and it will continue to be my suggestion, that we follow health department guidelines. And right now, health department requires that students wear masks. They did basically say local school districts could decide and have to decide how to enforce those mask requirements. However, they said schools develop protocols, not school boards develop policies. So I do believe that it is within my purview for me and my staff to develop those protocols to enforce the mask requirements. I do not believe that we should simply not enforce the mask requirements, which would be a de facto violation of the mask requirement. If CDPH wanted local school districts to decide whether or not kids could wear masks, I believe they would have said that, and they didn't. Health guidance is that you have to wear a mask. Staff needs to develop protocols to enforce those mask requirements. My staff is working on that now, and I can share with you It will not be disciplinary in nature. It will be educational. And if a kid shows up to school without a mask, part of the requirement is that we have them there and that we provide students those masks so that they can continue to learn. But we will continue to work with our staff. We will continue to listen to our community. But I just want to make sure that our public and our board is not under the incorrect assumption that I'm ignoring parents' beliefs about masks. I'm simply following, as all public entities have to, the California Department of Public Health's requirement that students wear masks, and I am working with my staff to develop the protocols to enforce those masks. So if there's any questions on that from the board, I'd be happy to answer them, but very happy with the work of our staff in developing that. And in the board, who I think I've spoke with ad nauseum about this issue of understanding the importance of following health guidance, and that we don't start passing political policies or trying to influence political decisions, that we stay in the lane of policies around teaching and learning. So thank you for the time, Sarah.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Ted. So we'll move on to our association representatives and their updates. We'll start with ACT, the Association of Carmel Teachers, with Bill Schreier.
Hello, everybody. I don't know if I'm on or, but first of all, welcome, Mr. Knight. I really appreciated your clarity. Boy, that's going to be really, really helpful for all of us to know what to do. And listening to your interpretation of CDPH guidelines, I am completely in agreement with you. And to the extent that ACT has the authority and responsibility to negotiate safety conditions of employment, we're on the same page, sir. So welcome. I'm looking forward to working with you. We've had some communications, and I've really enjoyed it, and we wish you all the success in the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bill. Well said. Our next update is from the California School Employees Association. Do we have Bill or Lisa?
Seeing Bud or Lisa?
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Bud or Lisa, I do not see them in the audience for him to promote.
Okay. All right. So without the report from CSCA, we will move on to the consent calendar. Pursuant to Board Bylaw 9322, and in order to promote efficient meetings, the board may bundle a number of items and act upon them together through the use of a consent calendar agenda. Consent agenda items are reserved for routine items that are deemed to be non-controversial and allow a governing board to save the bulk of the meeting time for subjects about which there is a need for discussion and/or debate. Consent items shall be items of a routine nature and items for which board discussion is not anticipated and for which the superintendent recommends approval. All matters listed under the consent calendar will be considered by the board in one motion. All by roll call vote. Pursuant to Board Bylaw 9322, the board will accept public comment on these items, but there will be no discussion of these items prior to the time the board votes on the motion unless any member of the board requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for discussion. So with that said, I will open it up to the board if there is a specific consent calendar item that needs to be removed.
Sarah, I'd like to remove item O from the consent calendar, and it's in regards to the bell schedule at Tular. And it's been brought to my attention that the bell schedule has not changed. So I would like to pull that item. And if Ted, respectfully, if you could explain why that was put into consent so we can let the public understand that. So that's it.
You bet, Tess. Yeah, thank you for giving me the chance to explain. So as principals were sending their calendars forward, this one is on me. I apologize. I believed there was a change to the schedule and got a little hasty and threw it on the board agenda. And then as we were looking through it today, realized that there wasn't a change. So that is 100% my fault, and I apologize, and we'll make sure that does not happen again.
Thank you, Ted. Tricia, do we need to vote on the removal of that item from consent or open it up for public comment?
You can open it up for public comment, but when you go to make the motion, if you could make the motion to approve the consent pulling item 4O bell schedule from the consent calendar.
Okay, great, thank you. So with that said, I'll go ahead and open it up for public comment on agenda item 4, our consent calendar.
Now is the time to raise your hand if you have a public comment on the consent calendar items, agenda item 4. I will pause. Last call to raise your hand to make a public comment on the consent calendar items. Seeing no hands raised.
Great, thank you. So fellow board members, if I could please get a motion to approve the consent calendar with the removal of consent calendar item 4O.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar, removing item 4O.
Second.
Board President Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Clerk Tess Arthur,
Yes.
Board Member Seabury Nockbar,
Yes.
Board Member Anne Marie Rosen,
Yes.
Board Member Carl Palestrini.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Agenda item 5, action, discussion, and information items. So the board will accept public comment on each item when taken up the board. So we'll begin with agenda item 5A. This is Carmel High School proposed stadium lights. If there's any public comment on agenda item 5A, we'll go ahead and take that now.
It's time to raise your hand for public comments on agenda item 5A, Carmel High School proposed stadium lights. Friendly reminder, we will not be taking public comments later on, so now is the time to raise your hand. I will take pause. Last call for public comment on item 5A, Carmel High School proposed stadium lights. Seeing no hands raised.
Great, thank you. And with that, I will turn it over to Dan Paul. Hi.
Good evening. Okay, tonight I'm going to give you an update on the status of the environmental impact and go over the key observation points. So at the May 26th board meeting, we held a public hearing to provide opportunity for comment on the project. And we were also in the middle of our required 30-day public notification period for the notice of preparation. We received a total of 12 comments during the 30 days. 4 of them were from public agencies and 8 were from community members. The comments and the responses are included in the draft environmental impact report. The preliminary draft is under review by the staff right now. It includes the nighttime visual simulations that we're looking at right now. What you see on that map is the observation points that were selected to do the nighttime simulation. Each point represents a spot around the campus where the lights could be potentially viewed from a public space. The key observation points are not meant to be from somebody's backyard. It's supposed to represent what the public would see in a public right-of-way. So point 1 is on southbound 1. If you can go to the next slide, that's southbound on Highway 1, just north of the high school intersection. You can see the picture on the left is before, and the simulation on the right is the after shot of the lights installed. Go to slide 2. This is from Morse Drive, just south of you can actually see the gates of the baseball field there. So it's just south of the campus looking up at the football field. And slide 3. This is near Mesa Drive. If you're looking up from Highway 1 towards the high school. So you're below it, a little bit southwest of it. And slide 4. Slide 4 is from Outlook Drive. We looked at areas near Outlook Drive and High Meadows. And there's about a quarter-mile difference between the two locations. So the view shed would be essentially the same. So we selected one that would give us the best shot. And that's our key observation point. So these are included in the draft EIR. The next step in the EIR is to incorporate staff comments into the draft, and then it will be released for public comment for a 45-day period. The key representative points will be in there. We could select additional points if we choose to at this time, but based on the work we've done in the background and selecting sites, I think we've got all of our observation points covered. And I am open to questions if the board has any questions.
I had a couple questions, and I apologize if you've covered this in another board meeting. I apologize ahead of time. So I know that you said comments from the public. In general, were those comments positive, negative, curious, informational? The next question is, how late are we allowed to keep the lights on? What are the regulations with when they turn off? And then the third question is, other than the environmental impact report that'll be released and all of the efforts I know you've made to try to solicit public comment, is there any kind of preparatory phase where we make sure to like say, hey, stadium lights coming soon to you, or something along those lines where there's a little bit of, preparation for the community that might not have been paying attention to let them know that these are on their way and that your view shed may be a little different.
Right. Okay. The first question was about the comments. 4 of the public agencies that commented, so I can tell you it was Native American Heritage Commission, Caltrans, Transportation Agency for Monterey County, and the Department of Fish and Wildlife. And they were pretty much form letters that we see anytime. If you look at any EIR that happens in the area, you'll see essentially the same thing. They want to talk about traffic, biological resources, historical resources. So they were pretty standard. The comments from community members, there were some in favor, some not in favor. The EIR really doesn't address those. What the EIR will address is impacts. So if somebody said, hey, tell me what's going to happen with the traffic. I fear the traffic is going to get worse when you have these events. So that is something that in the EIR we address. Noise from events, noise from construction, the light intrusion. Those are the type of things that happen that are addressed in the EIR. All of the comments we receive go into the EIR. They're in the document in the appendix, but only the items that can be addressed through the process are addressed. So you will see everything that came to the district when the draft is released. The second question was, how late will we run those? That's actually what's under review right now. We had some recommendations, and the high school administration and athletic director are reviewing them to make sure it's going to work for us, because we'll set policies based on what goes into this EIR, but we have to make sure those policies will make it work for our students. It would be unwise to put them in and shortchange ourselves on a policy that says we're going to shut the lights off at 6 p.m. when we need to go to 7 or something like that. So that's something we're working through, and I think I'll have comments back from the high school this week. And the last question was, how are we going to notify people? We'll do the same process when we send out the draft EIR to the public. It'll be on our website. We'll go into Pinecone again. And actually, I'm going to steal Ted's thunder here. He and I discussed a potential town hall meeting at the high school to discuss the project in the near future, so that we're giving the opportunity for the public to come in and meet face to face and talk to us about our concerns and let us explain what we're trying to do. So that's kind of where we're at with all those.
That's great. I think that's a great idea, town hall. Thank you for thinking of that.
Yeah, I have Dan. I think using the Pinecone and other forms of communication other than the district website is important, because, if we're going just with district inside district communication, it tends to go just to the parents of the students. And this is something that really should be going to the entire community. So, I think, getting it out, a town hall is good, but I would use the local newspaper to certainly keep abreast of our progress. I think that's really a pretty critical point. Looking at the whole thing, it's remarkable what they've done with the lights. Yeah, it really is. Because as you know, when I first started, the lights, they didn't look like that. They did not. They were landing zones for spacecraft. So it's coming along. It's looking good. And I'm, hoping to hear more.
Okay, just a comment on the website. That's not the primary way we're going to send it out, but it's like a 355-page document right now that may get slightly longer or shorter. So that's where we're going to post it instead of, we're going to put a copy at the high school, a copy at the district office in case somebody wants a physical copy, but we'll allow them to access it on our website because it is such a big document.
Well, I'm just hoping that we get some summaries that are periodic, that are in user-friendly terminology in terms of what we're doing, why we're doing it. I think why we're doing it is a real key piece to this thing in terms of the change in start times in schools. And, there's a lot of really good rationale for moving forward because, it's been a high school for 80 some years with no lights. And I just think the communication piece is important.
Point taken, we'll do that.
Thanks.
So, Paul, Dan, looking at the before and after in this last slide, is that before taken during another event at the high school when the lights are on? Because those pictures to me don't really look that different from each other. So
yes,
what is that from?
The pool lights are actually on. So the interesting thing with the pool lights is you get a reflection off the surface of the water. That's why you have underwater lights in the pool as well. So you're kind of seeing a glow. And when you look at the second picture, just above the tree line, you see 4 little dots. That's the new lights. The old technology that's on the pool is not LED. The new LEDs don't cast as much glare. It's more of a pinpoint of light that's focused on the field. So the new technology is far more advanced than the 14-year-old stuff we have on the pool.
Well, and I'm actually surprised that there wasn't an angle from the Flanders side, that they couldn't come up with a before and after from the Flanders side, because they seem like they would be the ones that would be most affected.
Right. So that we could, if we want to add an additional one, we could do that. I think the shot from Morse is pretty representative of what you're going to see. I mean, you're looking up at the lights, so it's representative. That's what we looked at is how is this going to be viewed? You're below, you may have a slightly different angle, but you're below the light, so this is what it's going to look like.
Thank you.
Dan, I think the only thing that concerns me a little bit is parking for an evening event that draws quite a crowd. A shoe game with Pacific Grove, basketball games with schools that are good, boys or girls. And, hope that somewhere in our own planning that we're ready to handle that kind of parking lot activity out there, because that's not a very big lot. And I don't know if you're hearing much about that or whether TAMC is interested in that. Any comments?
Yeah, the TAMC commented on that, and parking is addressed in the draft EIR under review right now. And I don't want to get too much into it, but it really talks about developing a traffic and parking management plan for the big events that will bring a lot of traffic to the campus. So that is an impact that's addressed in the EIR.
Yep.
Dan, I just had one question for you regarding next steps. So you mentioned that the EIR is in draft review right now. So once it is out of draft and into completion mode, Does it get its big debut at the town hall, which I think, by the way, is an amazing idea? Or are you coming back to the board with, to Carl's point, a summary of the findings in the EIR? Just curious of what the next steps are and kind of what the timeline looking ahead is.
Sure. We should have the draft comments back to the consultant this week. They'll take a week or two to incorporate everything, and then we'll be ready to release it to the public. And we probably want to release it to the public and give them a little time to review before we talk about it at a board meeting or have more of a public town hall type meeting. And the review period, when it's in its draft form, is 45 days. So this is really for the public to look at our draft EIR and say, hey, you missed this, or hey, massage that. And then we take those comments back and do some more work on it and then bring it back. And at that point, at the very end, when we think we've got it nailed down, that's where the board has to approve the EIR and approve that we move forward. But that's probably a December, January timeframe for the final, but the draft EIR will probably be ready to release to the public in early August and have the 45-day comment period. So we can do our town hall in that phase, and I can definitely do an update for the board.
Last question for me is I've certainly heard a lot more than 12 comments from the community about this, as you can imagine. So to me, what's really important is rationale and why, why now? And after all these years, and I think that we have an awful lot of good reasons to do it. Is that something that the EIR will actually address, or is it going to have to be something that the district packages as sort of a promotional rationale as to why we are doing this? How is that handled?
The rationale is actually in the first couple pages of the EIR. So it talks about why we want to undertake this project and covers everything about late start and impact to schools and the culture of the high school and all the reasons we've heard from the students and the decisions by the state that are driving this. So it is early in the EIR.
Good. Thanks.
Sorry. Thank you, Dan, for that. Before we wrap it up, I just wanted to make sure, Anne Marie, did you have any questions or comments? No. Okay. I just want to make sure. All right. Well, thank you so much, Dan. We'll look forward to hearing more from you on this very exciting topic.
Okay.
All right. Moving on to agenda item 5B. This is the 2021-2022 Consolidated Application Approval Request with Mr. Blaise DiGirolamo. Before we begin this presentation, I will open it up for public comment on agenda item 5B, the 2021-22 Consolidated Application Approval Request. So if there are any questions regarding agenda item 5, now is the time to raise your hand.
Correct. Now is the time to raise your hand. I will take pause. Last call for public comment on item 5B. Seeing no hands raised.
Great, thank you. Hi, Blaise.
Hello, how are all of you? It's nice to see everybody again and hope everyone's having a great summer, and thanks for having me tonight. So the consolidated application, known as the CONAP, is California's system for applying for and distributing funds from federal programs to school districts, like our Title I for socioeconomically disadvantaged students, Title II for professional development for effective teachers and leaders. The application to apply for the funds must be board approved. And additionally, when a district has over 50 English learner students, like we do, the District English Learner Advisory Committee, or DLAC, must advise the district on whether it should apply to continue to receive federal funds in support of students. And they have recommended to do so again, as you can see in the attachment. The district has been doing this annually for years and years. The Consolidated Application and Reporting System, called CARS, is actually the online platform for the application, for allocation information, and for district accountability reporting. So as you can see from the agenda attachment, we are applying for Title I funds and Title II funds. Title I funds are to be used exclusively for Captain Cooper to support staffing and programs as they traditionally have. We are also applying for Title II funds, again, to be used for staff development in support of students. A typical Title I allocation is around $250,000 a year. And typically Title II is around $60,000 that we receive. And I just wanted you to point out that those funds, additionally, private schools within our boundaries are entitled to some of those funds based on enrollment and eligibility. And for the most part, it's Title II funding, not Title I funding that they take part in, like All Saints and UNIPRO used to. So I'm here to ask you once again to approve our ability to apply. Once we do apply, we will receive allocations, and then the work is handled at the district level. There is no additional board action after that. So it's just every year, the board must approve that we apply for federal funds, and then it goes from there. So that's what I'm here to ask, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Blaze. I'll open it up to the board for any questions or comments. And if there are not any, like Blaze said, we will need a motion to approve the 2021-22 application for funding.
I'll make a motion to approve the application for the 2021-22 application for funding, and want to thank Blaze for a very tight presentation. Right to the point. Thank you.
Second.
Board President Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Clerk Tess Arthur,
Yes.
Board Member Seabury Nockbar,
Yes.
Board Member Anne Marie Rosen,
Yes.
Board Member Carl Palestrini.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Blaze.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Agenda item 5C. This is Ted's first agenda item. Just felt like I should call that out. It's exciting. This is resolution number 21-22, the Education Protection Account, EPA. We will go ahead and take public comment on agenda item 5C, resolution 21-22, Education Protection Account, EPA.
Now is the time to raise your hand if you have a public comment on item 5C, resolution 21-22, EPA. I will take pause. Paul? Seeing no hands raised.
Great, thank you. Take it away, Ted.
Thank you, Sarah. You guys are in luck tonight. 2/5 of the agenda items are for us to accept money. So similar to Blaze, I'm here to ask you to help us get some funds for our staff and students. So the EPA, the Educational Protection Account, provides local education agencies like our school district with general purpose state aid funding pursuant to Prop 30. An annual resolution is required, and each year local school agencies provide the plan to spend EPA funds in a public meeting of the governing board. The funds cannot be used for administrative costs, and the report of EPA expenditures is provided in your packet. And so this again is just another very brief presentation to ask you to help support our ability to gather funds for our students and staff. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ted. I'll turn it over to the board for a motion to approve.
I'd like to make a motion to approve resolution 21-22, Education Protection Account, EPA.
Second.
Board President Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Clerk Tess Arthur,
Yes.
Board Member Seabury Nockbar,
Yes.
Board Member Anne Marie Rosen,
Yes.
Board Member Carl Palestrini.
Yes.
Agenda item 5D, resolution number 21-23, notice of completion, Tularcitos 50s wing roof replacement. And back to you, Dan Paul. But before we go back to you, we will take public comment on agenda item 5D.
Now is the time to raise your hand on agenda item 5D, resolution 2123, notice of completion, Tularcitos 50s wing roof replacement. I will pause for a moment. Last call for public comment. Seeing no hands raised.
Great, thank you.
Okay, this was a project we completed over the summer. There were no change orders and the project was done on time. So we're in good shape for roofs at Tularcitos now.
Excellent. I'll turn it over to the board for a motion to approve. And
Yeah,
well done, Dan. Well done.
I'll make a motion to approve the notice of completion, resolution number 21-23 as presented.
Second.
Board President Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Clerk Tess Arthur,
Yes.
Board Member Seabury Nockbar,
Yes.
Member Anne Marie Rosen,
Yes.
and Board Member Carl Pelestrini.
Yes.
All right, Dan. Agenda item 5E. These are resolutions number 21-24, number 21-25, number 21-26, number 21-27, and 21-28. This is notice of completions for carpet replacement at various sites. I'll go ahead and open it up for public comment on agenda item 5E for the resolutions as aforementioned.
That's the time to raise your hand for public comment on 5E, resolutions 2124, 2125, 2126, 2127, and 2128, notice of completions, carpet replacement at various sites. I will take pause. Last call for public comment. Seeing no hands raised.
Thanks,
Okay.
Tricia. Okay, Dan.
All of these were done on time, no change orders. We're working our way through the sites, getting them new carpet.
Okay, I'll turn it over to the board for a motion to approve.
I'll do that, but one quick question, Dan. Is this on deferred maintenance or is it done by need? I'm just curious.
So this is actually done by assessments. I walk through every classroom in the district every summer and do a facilities inspection that's mandated by the state. So I know the age of every carpet and I go kind of by age and condition. The problem we ran into is we did a great job of modernization in 01 through 03, but replaced all our carpet at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a, I'm assessing each one and age and need are driving decisions. And sometimes the principal will have a little input because they know something that's coming up that it would be better to do it this year rather than wait for a year. But that's kind of what's driving the schedule.
I'll go ahead and make a motion. Oh, unless there's a question. No question. I'll make a motion to approve the notice of completion of resolutions 21-24, 21-25, 21-6, 21-27, 21-28 as presented.
Second.
Board President Sarah Hines,
Yes.
Board Clerk Tess Arthur,
Yes.
Board Member Seabury Nockbar,
Yes.
Board Member Anne Marie Rosen,
Yes.
Board Member Carl Pelestrini.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dan. Well done. All right. Moving on to agenda item 6. This is board operations. I'll go ahead and accept public comment on any future topics. So if there's public comment on agenda item 6A, future topics, now is the time.
Raise your hand if you have a public comment on item 6A, future topics. I will take pause. Last call for future topics, public comment. Seeing no hands raised.
Thanks, Tricia. I would just like to encourage that if any board member has a matter within the board's jurisdiction to be placed on the agenda, please feel free to fill out the future topics agenda request link on our website, so Tricia and Ted and myself can adequately track future topic requests that come in. Additionally, pursuant to Board Bylaw 9322, between meetings, members of the public may submit written requests that a matter within the jurisdiction of the board be placed on the agenda of a subsequent meeting. The link to the form can be found on our district webpage. And if you need that link, any board members or Tricia or Ted can help you find it. Tricia, are there any future topics that you want to call out?
No, I don't believe so. I did add this year, you'll see the list of all the board meetings for the whole year. So that will be on every meeting just so that it's prevalent and easier to find for everyone.
Great, thank you for that. And with that said, I will thank the community, fellow board members, staff, members of the district office, everybody who joined us this evening for a very productive meeting this evening. Thank you for joining us. And I will go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Thank you all.